Long time ago, in a village called Achara, in the western part of Africa, there lived a king called Nkalli. He was very powerful because he ruled over 3 clans. He was very rich. He had properties and farmlands, livestock and more. He had a very beautiful daughter called Mesoma. Princess Mesoma was an only child. She was very beautiful, and all men in the village desired her hand in marriage. Some men desired her for her beauty, others for her kindness, but majority desired her because she was the king's daughter. Mesoma was very nice and polite to everyone. Most times, she goes round the village to give alms and food to the needy. She was loved by all. Several suitors had expressed their intentions to marry her, but she rejected them all because she felt they did not truly love her for who she was. Instead, they wanted to marry her because of what they intended to benefit. The first man, Azuka, was a rich trader. He brought his people and expressed his intentions to marry Princess Mesoma. He was so full of himself, talking about his achievements and how he was rich enough to take good care of her. He continued to brag how he has traveled far and wide. Princess Mesoma and her mother, Queen Ezine, just detested him immediately. As soon as he left, Princess Mesoma told her parents she cannot marry him because he sounded too proud. Princess Mesoma said, "I want a man I will truly love, not because of what he has." Her mom agreed with her. Few months later, she met Philip. Philip was an indigene of Achara, but based in the city. He tried to ask her hand in marriage too. Philip was a very handsome man. Princess Mesoma liked him. He came to the palace severally to visit her and asked her on a date one day. Everything was moving smoothly. She excused herself to use the restroom. As she was coming back, Philip was on a phone call. He didn't notice she was behind him. He was talking to someone. That is not as if he really loved the princess. He continued, "I'm a smart guy. I'm just here for the money. Immediately I marry her, I'll become a millionaire." Princess Mesoma heard their conversation and was devastated. She left immediately and refused to ever see Philip again. Philip tried severally to see her, but she asked the palace guards not to let him in. She later met Prince Ifeanyi, who was the son of the king of Ihiago, a neighboring village. The families wanted to arrange for their children to get married. Princess Mesoma would have agreed, but Prince Ifeanyi had a terrible anger issue. His anger was like the venom of a serpent, very bad. One day, he was in an argument with Princess Mesoma and he fled up, smashed the cup in his hands out of anger. He started screaming. Princess Mesoma was so scared, and because of that, she was never comfortable around him. One day, she went to Ihiago to visit him and decided to spend the night. In the course of their discussion that night, it resulted into an argument. Prince Ifeanyi became very vexed and charged towards her. She escaped that night from the back door and ran away. She told her parents that inasmuch as they wanted the union, she couldn't continue because her life was at risk. She decided to take a break from relationships and came up with a perfect plan on how to get a befitting man that would love her unconditionally. She came up with a plan and decided to share with her parents. She called them one night and told them that she had a perfect plan on how to get a good husband. She said, "Father and mother, I know how much both of you want me to get married and bear you children. It's a pity that most of the men in this village do not possess such characteristics I desire, because most of them are just after your wealth, Father. You both have been wonderful parents to me, and I feel I owe you both a responsibility of giving you a befitting son-in-law who will truly love me and respect me. Father, I want to leave this village and go to one of the neighboring villages where I'm not known, to live like a normal girl of my age, without royal maidens or guards, without a golden crown or an expensive robe. Her mother disagreed and said, "No, Mesoma, you are our only child, and we cannot allow you go out of our reach." All through the conversation, the king kept mute. Finally, he asked, "Which of the villages do you intend to go to?" Princess Mesoma took in a deep breath and said, "Nkalli." Nkalli was a village 15 hours from Achara. Her father gave her his blessings, but told her to be very careful. Princess Mesoma got to Nkalli and rented a very moderate one-room apartment. She enrolled as an apprentice tailor in Madam Njideka's shop. Madam Njideka was a big tailor in Nkalli, and she made clothes for the reputable people in the village. She was very strict with her apprentice and made sure she disciplined anyone that disobeys. One day, she sent Mesoma to deliver clothes to the village primary school headmaster, Sir Odinaka. When she got there, Sir Odinaka asked her if she was a new apprentice, and she said yes. "No wonder I had not seen you before," Sir Odinaka said. Sir Odinaka was a very young, handsome man who did his teacher training studies in the city and came back to the village to contribute to their education. As the village headmaster, he was admired by so many ladies because he was one of the highest paid government workers in the village. So, he was every girl's dream man. He became friendly with Mesoma, and after school, he would go check up on her. Soon, they became very close. Sir Odinaka was not married, but his mother lived with him. One day, he invited Mesoma to come see him at home. As they were in the sitting room discussing, Odinaka's mother walked in. She looked at Mesoma with disdain. Mesoma greeted her, but she barely answered. Her son Odinaka introduced her as his friend and an apprentice of Madam Njideka the tailor. She didn't say a word. She just walked away. As Mesoma was leaving, she asked Odinaka if all was well, cause it seems his mom did not like her. He waved it aside that maybe she was just not in a good mood. When Odinaka got back home, his mother was very angry. She said, "Out of all the girls in the world, you choose to make friends with an ordinary tailoring apprentice, and that it was obvious that that girl was a gold digger." Odinaka's mother, Mrs. Uzuamaka, was relentless in her efforts to separate her son from Mesoma. She believed that a mere tailoring apprentice was beneath her son. When Mesoma visited Odinaka, Mrs. Uzuamaka would make her do menial chores under the guise of helping out. She would ask Mesoma to fetch water from the stream, clean the house, and even cook meals. Mesoma, however, endured it all with grace and patience. Not revealing her true identity, she knew she had to prove her character and love for Odinaka through her actions. Odinaka was aware of his mother's harsh treatment, but admired Mesoma's resilience and kindness. He often spoke to his mother, trying to make her see Mesoma's good heart. "Mother, she is a good person. She is kind and respectful. Can't you see how well she handles everything you throw at her?" he would say. But Mrs. Uzuamaka remained adamant. One evening, after a particular trying day where Mesoma had been tasked with cleaning the entire compound, Odinaka found her resting under the tree, looking weary yet composed. He sat beside her and took her hand. "I'm sorry for everything my mother puts you through. I wish I could change her mind." Mesoma smiled gently. "Odinaka, your love and support is all I need. I can endure this for us." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, and soon the villagers began to notice their closeness. Rumors started to spread about the beautiful apprentice and the headmaster's relationship. Despite the gossip and Mrs. Uzoamaka's continuous disapproval, Odinaka and Mesoma's love flourished. One day, while Odinaka was at work, Mrs. Uzoamaka confronted Mesoma directly. "You think you can win my son over with your humble act? I know your type. You are after his money and status. But let me warn you, I will never accept you into this family." Mesoma, maintaining her composure, replied softly, "I'm not here for his wealth or status. I love Odinaka for who he is, and I only wish for his happiness." Just as Mrs. Uzoamaka was about to reply, Odinaka walked in. Having overheard the conversation, "Mother, enough," he said firmly. "Mesoma is the woman I love, and I will not have you disrespect her. If you cannot accept her, then I'll have to make a difficult decision." Mrs. Uzoamaka was stunned by her son's declaration. She loved her son dearly and had never seen him so resolute. She began to question her own behavior and wondered if she was wrong about Mesoma. The Nkalli festival was fast approaching. The festival was the biggest festival in Nkalli that attracted dignitaries from far and wide. The king of Achara decided to visit Nkalli, as it was customary for neighboring villages to attend each other's festivals. They arrived with great pomp and ceremony, and the villagers were shocked with excitement at the display of affluence and royalty. At the festival, Mesoma stood quietly among the crowd, watching the proceedings. Suddenly, she caught sight of her parents in their royal regalia. Her heart skipped a beat. She had not expected to see them so soon. As the king and queen made their way through the village, the people bowed in respect. Mrs. Uzoamaka, seeing the royal entourage, quickly moved closer to get a better view. When she saw the king and queen, she was amazed by their presence and elegance. She noticed Mesoma was trying to make her way. Mrs. Uzoamaka dragged her back and said, "You poor little girl, these are not your type. You are not supposed to be here, you gold digger." The king noticed the commotion and approached. "Ah, Mesoma, my dear daughter, we have missed you," he said warmly, embracing her. Mrs. Uzoamaka's eyes widened in disbelief. "Your daughter?" she stammered, looking between Mesoma and the king. "Yes," the queen replied, smiling. "Princess Mesoma is our only child." At this point, her true identity was now revealed. Tears gathered in the eyes of Mrs. Uzoamaka as she realized the depth of her mistake. She had mistreated a princess, a noble and kind-hearted woman who had only shown love and patience. Overwhelmed with guilt and sorrow, Mrs. Uzoamaka fell to her knees before Mesoma. "Please forgive me," she begged. "I have been so blind and cruel. I see now that you are truly worthy of my son." Mesoma gently lifted her up. "There's nothing to forgive. I understand your concerns as a mother. Let us start afresh." The villagers, witnessing this heartfelt reconciliation, cheered and celebrated the union of Odinaka and Mesoma. They were surprised that the humble tailoring apprentice was a princess, a royalty. The king and queen gave their blessings to their union, and a grand wedding was planned. Odinaka and Mesoma were married in a beautiful ceremony that united the villages of Achara and Nkalli. Mrs. Uzoamaka, now full of respect and love for her daughter-in-law, stood proudly by their side. Mesoma whispered to her father, the king, "Father, indeed, I have fulfilled my promise of giving you a befitting son-in-law," and they both smiled.